It is Monday, March 27th, 2023. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at Blast Motion. This dude is always a blast. The former major leaguer, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. As we are here, it is opening week. Are you ready, sir?
I've never been more ready for something in my entire life, C. Rosie. I thought I was going to like this week between the WBC and the start of the baseball season. I haven't liked it that much. Like, I'm ready for baseball to start. I'm seeing all these teams get on the plane, all these dudes, opening day roster. They got their fresh fit on, the hair's cut. Tyler Wade's putting a freaking picture of a bottle of Camus in his Louis Vuitton bag. Like, relax a little bit, bro. We get it. You're in the show.
Speaking of baseball being back and getting started, are you ready to dominate the plate this season? Well, Blast Baseball is the #1 hitting improvement solution. It is trusted by more MLB, college, and travel ball teams than any other thing out there. The Blast sensor attaches to the knob of any bat, providing real-time feedback with each and every swing. Metrics are automatically sent to a smartphone app, generating insights that allow you to analyze and improve your hitting like never before. So if you take a swing, you don't like what you see, or you love what you see, you can make improvements. You can stay the same. That's the deal. Blastmotion.com. Enter the code word today. You're going to check out and save $10. Unlock your potential with Blast. Go do it today. We will continue on with our preview of the American League West, which, of course, is home to the defending champion Houston Astros. But first, I do want to touch on this. A big weekend for our friends in the John Boy Media office because Anthony Volpe did make the team. Sounds like he's going to be your starting shortstop at the beginning of the 2023 season. However, is that bigger news than them missing yet another piece of the rotation as Luis Severino goes down with what they're calling a minor lat issue?
Now, I talked to our guys, Jimmy and Jake, about this, and I asked them straight up, what do you guys think the bigger news is? And it kind of shocked me the way they answered it, because in my mind, Volpe breaking with the team, there's so many similarities between like the Jeter thing. The Yankees have always played the time card with their prospects. They want to have that extra year control, but Volpe did enough in spring training to break with the team. He's going to be the shortstop, which means Peraza's got sent out. And I think Peraza is an everyday big leaguer in my mind. So I think that's a big deal. But for them, they said for the season, it's Sevy going out with the lat injury. That affects the season more than Volpe. They already had shortstops. They had a bunch of options. He's going to be the shortstop. Obviously, we're very excited to see this guy play. But that rotation has taken some hits, man. Like, what was a strength, and people were saying that might be the best rotation in baseball. And now we're going to Rodon. He's already throwing bullpens, but you don't want to see injury concerns right off the bat with him. And now Sevy having to fill those spots at the beginning of the year, I think is probably the bigger story going into the year.
When the calendar flipped to 2023, you did look at that rotation once Rodon signed, and you were like, okay, this is big time. It's one of the best in baseball. You could even make an argument that the best. 60% of it will not be there at the end of this week, right? We've kind of given up on Frankie Montas. Yankee fans.
I have not given up on Frankie Montas.
Well, I think if you were to ask a lot of the Yankee fan base, they have. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. Here's the thing about Sevy. There is no such thing as a minor lat issue. There just isn't. I mean, I suppose a doctor could say, yeah, it's a minor lat issue. That thing can linger. Last year, even though they say it was more severe, it cost him 2 months of a season. And it's just, you never know. We all know that the Yankees are very, very good, right? They're the defending division champs. I get all of that stuff. You never know which 2 weeks of the season can sway you from being a division champ to a wild card to being on the cusp of not making the wild card. You just don't know. You can look back on those games in early April and say, boy, that really cost us. So I think it's a big deal. I'm excited for the kid Volpe. I loved, him getting the hug from Boone and being told he was making the team, just like Jordan Walker in St. Louis. I love those things. I'm a sucker for those. But he's going to be hitting ninth, and we'll see where he goes from there.
I want to say he earned the spot. He went in the spring training and did it. And everything I've seen on this guy on the web, I don't know him personally, but he just acts like he's a Yankee shortstop, doesn't he? Like everything's
Absolutely.
still professional. I don't want to say Jeter-esque because I feel like that's unfair to put that on this kid. And I know we're going to because it was his favorite player and young shortstop, and I get that. But let's let this guy like breathe a little bit. If he struggles out the gate, relax. Okay, like he's going to be a good big leaguer. Just give him some time.
Yeah, I mean, the similarities are easy, right? He's joining a team which has been, in the playoffs, that has had a World Series-less drought that's gone on. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited to see him, and I'm happy for him. He also gives the Yankees some athleticism, some ability to run the bases, stuff that has not been there in recent years. All right, with all that being said, it is time to get to our American League West preview, and we're going to start at the top and work our way down. So the Astros are trying to become the first repeat champion since the Yankees of 98 through 2000. In case you haven't been paying attention, they have also made it to 6 straight ALCSs, which is remarkable. So you're going to be more surprised, Plouffe, if Houston wins it all again or if they miss out on the league championship series.
This freaking team, Rosie. I will answer your question straight away. I'd be more surprised if they didn't make the ALCS. I mean, winning the World Series is a whole different thing. But like you said, 6 times in a row. It's not a given, but let me say that again. 6 times in a row? That's insane. Awesome. And then by June, when they're at full capacity and they're like winning series after series, I think people are going to remember just how like good this roster set up. I don't think they have a weakness. And in my opinion, it's the most complete roster in baseball. And Rosie, I can even spin the Altuve and Brantley injuries for you in a positive way. You want to hear it?
Please.
Your guy, Hensley, and then Yanier Diaz, they're going to get some meaningful playing time at the beginning of the season. And it's only going to help them come to playoff push. I mean, I think this team is absolutely incredible. The organization is absolutely incredible. And I have a comparison for you. You know that beach house you have in the Hamptons? These dudes are just like it. The windows are always open. There's no freaking end in sight for this team. ALCS 10 times in a row for the Astros.
I think the one thing that'll be interesting as they continue to revamp their roster over the years is what's going to happen with Kyle Tucker. I think he's the one that could walk like right in his prime where you're like, ooh, that one hurts. But that's for another day and another discussion, because I think he believes he's a $200 million baseball player. He certainly looks the part and plays the part, but that is not the Astros' MO with the way that they wrap guys up. They're in the $100 million range and the low to mid 100 million, not the high 100 million. They will let you walk. I would agree with you here. I just think there's too much that can go wrong. We've seen them lose the World Series, both to Washington in 2019 and the Braves in 2021. So, yeah, you're like, well, it's only one more series. Why don't you say it? Well, it hasn't happened now in almost a quarter of a century. This is the longest drought we've had in the history of the sport since we started playing the World Series without a repeat champion. I don't know, man. I guess I'll play the odds and just say, yeah, Houston, I'll see you in the ALCS for the 7th straight year.
I mean, it's something would have to go drastically wrong. And I know they played a really close playoff series, even though they swept the Mariners. That was a very close series. Yeah. So, I mean, once you get into playoffs, anything can happen. But like I said, this is the most complete roster in baseball. And when it's crunch time, guess who has the most experience out of any team in baseball? It's these guys. They do not back down. They don't care about the moment. They've been there, done that. And I'm telling you, that is massive come playoff time.
Absolutely. By the way, we didn't even bring up the fact that they could be usurped atop the division, right? Do either one of us think that they're not going to win the AOS?
I think they're going to win the AOS. Mariners come prove us wrong. Okay. I think for the first time they have a shot. Might not be a great shot. Might be like a half-court shot, but they got a shot.
Speaking of, Seattle erased its 21-year playoff drought last season, even won a series up there in Toronto. Where do the Mariners rank in the American League pecking order? Not the division pecking order, the American League.
Very high. And I'm going to go into this exercise, Chris, assuming that like all rosters are at full strength. That means the Astros and some of these other teams that are dealing with some injuries. I'm going into it like that. I still think they're a top 5 team in the AL. I have the Astros, the Yankees, and I think even the Blue Jays ahead of them. And then I think it's like them and the Rays. Sorry about your Guardians. Sorry about my Twins. So definitely high on the list. And the expectations are very high there, obviously. The pitching staff is incredible. They have some of the best depth in baseball. They're 6 starters deep at the big league level, plus a bunch of guys waiting in the wings. Their bullpen's incredible. They have a ton of guys in the way too in that department. Like their pitching staff, rotation and bullpen is just absolutely stacked. I think the offense though is a little bit more uncertain. It's not bad. It's just like uncertain. I think we're going to see some ups and downs from them. But overall, I think they're here to stay for their foreseeable future, just like the Astros. I think that's going to end up being a fight there in the years to come. But because of the offense, I think I'm going to put them. I put them 5. I put them 5. I think the Rays above them.
Houston, Yankees, Seattle.
Okay.
I got them 3rd. I love that rotation. I think a full year of Castillo and the young guys in Gilbert and Kirby, knowing that they're here to stay. There's nothing to prove. You're a part of the party. Yes, the bullpen was very good last year. They did trade Eric Swanson in the Teoscar deal. I'm curious about how Teoscar plays out there. They did pick up A.J. Pollock, who came off a very healthy season. I'll tell you what I love. One thing that people don't like to talk about. I love their defense up the middle.
Yeah.
I think you'll be hard-pressed to find a better foursome than Raleigh behind the dish, Crawford, Colton Wong, and J-Rod. I love that defense up the middle. I'm good with it. Yes, the Mariners were a lot of either hit the ball over the wall, let's not manufacture a ton of runs. I don't think they had a great batting average last year. I'd have to look at their OPS again, but I think they're the 3rd best team going in, even though they didn't make a ton of offseason signings. Trades, yes, signings, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem if you put him there. I think, like I said, I have the Blue Jays above them. I'm kind of a believer in them, especially this year. I think they're going to sneak up on a lot of different teams. And then the Rays, for me, they're always an enigma for baseball fans because you kind of they don't have a bunch of household names, but I think they're starting to get some there, and the rotation's looking really good. So I just have them on that tier. I would put them on the same tier as the Blue Jays and the Rays. I just have them slightly above, just because the offensive depth. I think the offensive depth there is not what it needs to be. And I guess you could say that for the Rays too, but it's a good team. Seattle Mariners fans, we love you. We think your team is good. I'm sorry for pronouncing them dead. I'm not apologizing anymore. That's the last one.
Do you really feel bad when you're saying that, though, or are you just doing it to just kind of cover your bases?
No, I do. I mean, I never wanted to be that guy that says writing off teams in June. I think I said that, but man, I saw them and I was so excited to root for them, and they just were playing so poorly. And the Angels came into town, and Mike Trout killed them. So I said it, and then I had to eat my words, and that's why I never wanted to be that guy, because you do end up eating your words at some point. But now you guys are out of that level. It's perform or don't perform now. There's no cute Cinderella story for the Mariners anymore.
That is true. Angels coming off their best finish in the Shohei era, 3rd, even though they only won 73 games. He, of course, I don't know if you heard, he's in a walk year, Trevor. So will Ohtani be playing his home games in Anaheim after the trade deadline?
I go back and forth on this a lot, and I've probably said a bunch of different things on this show. So I'm going to tell you where my head's at right now, C-Rosie. In my mind, they're not going to be able to keep him for next year. I just don't think that's going to happen. So it does make sense to get something for him this year. The problem is you've constructed a pretty good squad around him, and you're hoping to be in contention come late July. So how can you justify to your fan base that you care at all if you trade the best player on the planet? You just can't do it, right? If you're in contention, you can't trade Shohei Ohtani. And if you do, you're going to lose a lot of fans. So if they're in contention, I believe he stays. And then they kind of just pray during the offseason. But if they're out of contention, then all bets are off. And I see, a bunch of teams coming. I don't know what a package would be for him because it's just a rental. It's 2 months of Shohei. But I'm assuming it'll be a big package like you have, C. Rosie. But right now, my gut is saying he'll be in Anaheim through the season because I do think they're going to be in contention come July.
Okay, let's play this out for a second. The first thing you said is you don't think he's coming back to the Angels in 2024, correct?
I don't. I do not.
Okay. Do you think the Angel fans are going to be pissed when he leaves anyway?
Yes.
Okay. So you are going to take a compensatory pick and say, boy, we gave it the old college try in 2023. You're going to take one little compensatory pick for Shohei Ohtani for arguably the most talented player that has ever played this game, correct?
Yes, because okay, go ahead.
Because what? Because you think they can win it all?
They're going to be in contention for the first time in how many years?
But we don't know that.
Since I'm saying if they're in contention for the first time since they have Shohei and Mike Trout together, you can't trade Shohei Ohtani or you're going to lose the entire fan base, bro. You can't.
I would agree that you're going to lose the fan base, but you're either going to lose them in July when you trade them.
So what? You get prospects or a compensatory pick? Like what? They're the same thing to me. Unless the package is overwhelming, which is it going to be for 2 months?
But has there ever been a player traded that's in his walk year quite like this? Ever?
No, I agree with that, but I just don't know what the package is going to be.
But you're trading for an elite starting pitcher and maybe the best hitter in your lineup. You're trading for both of those. You don't think there's a team that would give up something? Are they going to say, no? And by the way, it might be a team that wants first crack at signing him too.
I get that. And I'm assuming they're going to throw a king's ransom at the Angels. But we don't know that for sure. These rentals don't, and we've had elite guys.
There's never been a rental like this.
I understand. Trust me. Shohei Ohtani, God right now. But we've seen really, really good pieces being traded that only have 2 months, and you get a decent return. But I do also believe that you throw the qualifying offer at them, and they love those draft picks. They do. I think he's going to be there. If they're in contention, like I believe they will be, I think he stays throughout the year. I do.
I'm ripping the Band-Aid off.
You can't fucking trade him. You can't trade him. If you're in contention, serious wild card. Say they're like in the 6th spot or something like that, or the 7th spot.
Mm-hmm.
How many teams freaking make the playoffs now?
6.
Okay. Say they're like 5th or 6th spot, and they trade Shohei Ohtani. What's Mike Trout going to do? He's going to walk into the office, kick the freaking desk over, and say, I'm out. I'm not playing anymore.
Yeah, you're not invited to the new golf course I'm opening with Tiger Woods in 2025. That's what he's going to say.
I mean, dude, I get it. Can you imagine?
I understand all of it. I really do, and this is going to make Angels fans nuts. But you have put yourselves in this situation. You have put yourselves in the situation where you're either going to get a compensatory pick or you can go handpick which guys you want in your organization the next few years. You don't have to wait for a draft. You say, I want that guy, I want that guy, I want that guy. I'm telling you, I think that they could get the biggest haul in the history of walk guys.
I mean, maybe. Well, you know what? You did this. You got me all fired up. You could have asked a different question about the Angels. You could have said, hey, let's talk about how the outfield is looking. Hunter Renfroe's a stud. Taylor Ward's looking to build off a freaking career year. And you got Mike Trout. How about that starting rotation? It's better than they've had in many years. Are these guys going to be in contention? Instead, you went with Shohei and you got me all upset, man.
Because that's obviously Hunter Renfroe's arrival is the biggest story in Anaheim this year. I'm going to put a period on this. I am rooting for him. I'm rooting for them to be in first place at the trade deadline because I want to see our best players.
Not going to be at first place at the trade. Relax.
I know, but I'm just telling you what I'm rooting for. What I'm rooting for and what's going to happen are two totally different things. Either that or my Cleveland baseball team would have had 20 World Series by now. So it's very simple. I want things to go well in Anaheim this year. If he walks, he walks, but it's not going to be. So they're going to have Perry's going to have a decision to make. He's going to have a decision to make at the end of July, and I'm going to tell you something. If he just lets him play out the season, it's going to be the wrong one. Let's move on.
Honestly, if they don't sign him back, which I don't think, it's a lose-lose situation for them.
Of course it is.
I think you keep him. And you give him.
Never have gotten to this point.
Keep him and give him like a proper send-off, or what's a proper send-off?
Proper send-off. Rangers continue their spending spree by revamping the starting rotation in the offseason. Is it an organizational failure if they don't at least seriously contend for a wild card this season?
Yes. If they don't contend for a wild card spot, it's a failure. There's no other way to put it, C-Rosie. They've just like been building and building and building over there. The roster, that's changed. The manager's changed. The front office has changed. The stadium has changed, but the results haven't. And I'm going to hit you with a stat here. I gave it to the people at the end of the Talking Baseball episode. I saw it in an article. If they win on opening day, C-Rosie, it'll be the first time they've been over 500 in almost 3 freaking years.
Oh,
People in Texas, they're patient, but I think it's wearing thin. And now they've got the talent. They've got names on the roster, so it's time to go. They better be contending this year.
I'll say this. The Rangers are on one hand, it's miserable that they play in the same area as the Dallas Cowboys. And on the other hand, when you stink, nobody notices. That's just kind of the way it goes. And the Rangers have stunk lately. In fact, only the Royals, Tigers, Angels, and Pirates have a longer playoff drought than your Texas Rangers. And none of those teams spend the way that the Texas Rangers have in the last couple of off seasons. I couldn't believe this, but I decided to look it up. They have 6 guys making at least $15 million this year. 6, including a few guys who are way up there in the financial stratosphere. The Dodgers, the almighty Dodgers, have 4 guys earning at least 15 mil this year. Only 4.
I'm saying.
It is time. You brought in Bruce Bochy out of retirement. He could have just been hanging out on his ranch or whatever he does. Instead, he's come back and, DeGrom's good. We got some other guys who are ready to step up. He's ready. He wants to win again. He didn't come out of this thing to delay his haul. By the way, they should have put him in the hall during the time that he was down and out. They should have used that time. Drives me nuts. But that's a tangent I don't want to get off on right now. Yes, Rangers, if you're not competing at the end of September, I don't know what the hell we're doing anymore. Then you're at least Stephen Cohen is taking his $500 million payroll and tax team, and they're in contention. The Rangers, you're just spending money and running on a treadmill. We're not going anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. They've just been building and building and building there. Like eventually you gotta win. You gotta do it.
Yeah.
But they're in a tough spot. They're in a tough division, like we just talked about.
Tough spot.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to put lipstick on a pig here.
Be better.
I don't believe in this team. I don't. I know they got some faces there. There's, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of guys making some money there now. It just doesn't seem like it's gelled yet. Or is going.
Well, that's why they brought in Bochy. We'll see if it works. Finally, in the AL West, the lowly A's. Unfortunately, the headline story all season long is going to be Las Vegas this, Las Vegas that. I don't want to do that to these people. That's not fair to do to your fan base. So for the A's fans that are listening right now, give me one baseball thing to be excited about.
You improved.
The same thing.
You improved at a bunch of different positions, and you kind of I don't know, man. You sent me this question, and I kind of was like deciding on how to answer it. And the truth is, they don't have much to be excited about up there. They really don't. Their stadium and their ball club is seemingly going to be taken away from them. Their team is going to stink. Even if you go to the Coliseum, it's not fun to go there. I respect the hell out of the fans that are in the stands there in the bleachers and all the passion that they have up there. But it's not a fun place to be right now. So the only thing that you can really rely on is, hey, let's see some of the other guys, the other teams that come in. You're opening up against Shohei Ohtani. That's cool. You're going to get to see him quite a bit until Rose says they trade him. But there's not a lot to be excited about. There really isn't. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Tyler Wade's on your team. He's a good-looking dude. They got a couple of young guys that might come up. Great. That happens all the time up there. But other than your awesome uniforms and your white cleats, I don't know what there is to be excited about if you're an Oakland A's fan. And I hate that I have to say that, but that's the truth.
I'm trying to get on the catching bandwagon, even though you just traded one of the better catchers in the sport to Atlanta. right? I mean, A's fans date it back 50 years to the days of Gene Tennis back there, the 80s run, an all-star game MVP and Terry Steinbach. Then we got, over the last decade, I believe in Stephen Vogt, and then Murphy, and now Shane Langeliers. He was the centerpiece in the Matt Olson deal a few years ago from Atlanta, a high draft pick. I called Voter. He's a big believer in him. Big.
You lost Stephen Vogt to the Mariners. I'm sorry. Like, what are we doing?
I know. But that's just to get some experience there until I can't do that. I'm not
going to take Kotsay's job. I love. Hey, Mark Kotsay is awesome.
That.
Love that.
I love.
Here's the guy. This is what I was going to say before I decided to answer it in the way I did. I read up on this guy named Mason Miller, who just throws cheese. And these are like, they have some good young prospects, and you might see some of them this year. But like, I feel like A's fans don't want to hear that because that's pretty much all they ever hear. These guys are good. Here's the next wave. And then bam, they're gone. It's tough, man.
So here's how bad it is for A's fans. I'm not here to pile on, but this is how I judge it. Two of my closest friends at NFL Network are a pair of producers, Alex Maloney, Drew Christensen, who are huge A's fans. Huge. Over the decade plus that we have worked together, they've had some very high times out there, right?
Sure.
Some really good playoff teams, all sorts of fun stuff. I believe at least one of them, if not both, didn't renew their MLB package. That's how distraught they are over this situation. And I think that they're not alone. That's how I judge it. But I tried to give you something in Shane Langeliers. There you go. What do you have coming up here on John Boy Media?
Our position units draft episode we recorded this morning. It'll be out later today. On Wednesday, we're doing our prop bet episode, which is, I think, is my favorite episode of the year because there's a lot of fun stuff that we go over there. So check that out. And then you and I are going to be recording a bunch of these things, a bunch of previews.
Yep. We got NL East on Tuesday, AL East on Wednesday, and then we're going to do a crazy, fast-paced opening day episode where I think I'm going to tinker with the idea of asking a question of each of our 15 games that day, and we can do it in 29 minutes and 30 seconds. I believe we can, but we'll see. Also, the latest episode of the Rose Rotation with Vinny Pasquantino of Team Italia and the Kansas City Royals out. We put out a clip today about how crazy it was playing against Shohei in Japan. He's got a lot of other interesting stuff. My wife actually helped him find a new snack in town in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah, that was an interesting discussion. So
there's some good food in Kansas City. My goodness, I gained some weight in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, I gained some weight whatever city I'm in. All right, that'll do it for us. For the one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and my man, Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Tuesday on Baseball Today.